When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
The Hilton sale is on. Now through September 29th, you can save up to 20% on stays this fall and beyond. Long weekends, last-minute getaways, holiday gatherings. There's a Hilton stay for all of them. More moments, more experiences, more destinations. Now 20% off for a limited time because it matters where you stay. Don't wait. Book by September 29th and save up to 20% at Hilton.com. Terms apply. Hilton for the stay.
Hi, I'm Marcus, and I support GenXGrownUp through Patreon. You can too by visiting patreon.com/GenXGrownUp.
No life, no fun. Don't you know that you're a grown-up?
GenXGrownUp is a YouTube channel, website, and audio podcast you're listening to right now. All made for and by people who love exploring media, games, tech, and toys of yesterday and today through the eyes of Gen Xers who refuse to grow up.
Your dinner cannot just be French fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up.
Welcome back, Gen X Grown Up podcast listener, to this, the backtrack edition of the Gen X Grown Up podcast. I am John. Joining me, as always, of course, my buddy George. Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's not a show without Mo. Hey, Mo, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
In this episode, we're celebrating 50 years of Saturday Night Live from a Gen X point of view. From groundbreaking sketches to unforgettable cast members and musical performances, we'll look back at how SNL became a cultural touchstone. Whether you've been watching since the very first season or just discovered it, this milestone is one worth laughing along with. And George, you said in the last episode, when we teased this backtrack, we cannot possibly comprehensively cover Saturday Night Live in one episode. So this is our perspective, some of our favorites and our favorite memories on it. And we're going to give you a little history too. It's just so broad. There's so much to talk about.
They couldn't even comprehensivly cover it in their own 50th anniversary
Fair point.
celebrations.
That's right.
I mean,
yeah, exactly right.
You're talking almost 1,000 episodes.
Yeah.
They're approaching here. There's just no way.
And so many bits of it have become absolute milestone television. There's just so much stuff and seeped into pop culture. We're going to get into all that.
Yeah.
All of that. We're as much as we can. First, though, it is time for some fourth listener email. The three of us are here. Anybody else writes in, you are the fourth listener. And the fourth listener for this episode is Paul P. He dropped us a line with the subject, ice cream backtrack.
Wow. Okay.
Here's what he has to say. Hi, guys. YouTube member here. Just listened to the backtrack and it brought back so many memories. The jingles are something that is so much a part of the ice cream man, as we called them. No need to be gender neutral back then. Ice cream man. But after a certain time in the evening, due to noise pollution, they weren't allowed to play the jingle, so blew a whistle instead. Really?
Interesting.
Yeah. To this day, if I hear a whistle, I get that Pavlov reaction of wanting a pokey hat, as we called it, ice cream cone. Never heard pokey hat. I never heard about the whistle or pokey hat, but I like it. Yeah.
Learning something new.
Yeah. Unfortunately, due to now being diabetic, it needs to remain a memory. Oh, well, I guess we do need to grow up in some ways.
Yeah, that's some bullshit, too. I'm with you on that one, pal.
Yeah, sorry.
You have to grow older. You don't have to grow up. That's the point. You just have to stop eating ice cream if you're diabetic. He wraps it up saying, another great pod. Thanks, guys. Paul P. We appreciate you, Paul. Thank you for writing in. Glad you enjoyed that backtrack about the ice cream truck. Listen, fourth listener, if you have heard something on the show you want to talk about, tell us what you think. It's easy. Just fire off an email to podcast@genxgrownup.com. We'll read every one that comes in, and most of them, like Paul's, eventually makes its way to the show. So just drop us a line and let us know. All right. With that good business behind us, it's time to jump into the body of this insurmountable SNL backtrack as best we can right after this quick break.
Wish you could become a morning person? You know the type, up before the sun, early morning runs, first one to the office with donuts and a smile. How do they do it? easy. With the new Galaxy Watch 8, sleep tracking and personalized insights from Samsung Health help you improve so you can wake up to a whole new you. One who, dare I say it, skips the snooze? It's possible. Train your sleep with Galaxy Watch 8. Learn more at Samsung.com. Requires compatible Samsung Galaxy phone, Samsung Health app, and Samsung account.
You're listening to Gen X Grown Up. But if you have a friend who's not yet listening, why not? Tell them about us. They'll thank you later.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, Ben. Guess who got arrested?
Who?
Kevin Summerland.
Who?
Calvin's sonogram.
Oh, do you mean Kiefer Sutherland?
Yes, that's it.
Moms, they love us and they take care of us. But one thing they can't do is remember celebrities' names. Now you don't have to waste hours a day trying to decipher which celebrity your mother is referring to. With the new Mom Celebrity Translator, simply enter the name as pronounced by your mother.
Kite Carbonell.
Then enter whatever vague information your mother knows about this person.
She's on TV and she's crazy.
And seconds later, you'll have the translation.
Oh, Kim Kardashian. Yeah, she's crazy.
Honey, who do you think is cuter, Rabbi Ronaldo or Champ Crawdaddy?
Oh, you mean Ryan Reynolds or Chase Crawford? Yeah, neither. I like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Who?
It even works backwards.
Sorry, Joe Geronimo.
I love Joe Geronimo. He was so good in Breakdance Fountain.
And the Mom Celebrity Translator even comes with audio playback, so moms can hear the right pronunciation.
Keith Ragu.
Keanu Reeves.
Oh. Said.
The Mom Celebrity Translator. Look for it wherever mom products are sold. So, Ann Taylor.
Here we go, as best we can, tackling the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. And really, I suppose how you engage with Saturday Night Live and when you watched it and what your relationship is to it is going to kind of shade what you think of the show. Maybe you watched it when it was brand new in the 70s, or maybe didn't pick up on it until the 2000s, or we're really looking at it from our point of view, a Gen X perspective, like we do pretty much everything here on this show.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought to that end, we should start with a quick round robin question. I'm curious from each of us, how much did you watch SNL? What's your familiarity with it? You know, how and when did you watch it? Were you allowed or not allowed to watch it? Let's start with you, Mo. What are your memories of SNL?
Well, as the elder statesman of the group,
yes, certainly.
I was about 8, I think, when it first came out. And plus I had 3 older brothers by like 6 years difference.
There we go.
So I started watching right from the first season when it started. Now, I did not stay awake through all of it. I definitely fell asleep at some point during every episode.
Well, you've been up since 5 a.m. watching cartoons.
Especially Saturday. Yeah, absolutely. But I always tried my best to stay up because I wanted to be like my brothers, and stay up and watch the show that was like at the time, like, ooh, Saturday Night Live was like the thing everyone talked about the next day. So I definitely tried my best. So I do have memories of like that first season of the show.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they did do reruns. Because I only did so many episodes, so I did get opportunities to see them again later.
Yeah. I'll tell you, for me, I only ever was aware of SNL through, I'll call it water cooler talk. It was lunchroom talk, whatever, when you were in school, is the next day, hang out with people. Did you see? I'm like, what are you talking about? And it wasn't easy to go back and see it because there was no YouTube or, online streaming or anything. And so I started to have that fear of missing out because they would talk about it in school. And though I didn't know that I would be interested in it because I didn't know what my affinity would be for comedy and comedians and things like that back then, I would end up watching like out of self-defense just to make sure I knew what was going on. So whatever funny sketch they would talk about the next day. And then through the course of doing that, well, then I kind of fell in love with the show. And it's something that I don't watch regularly, but I'll certainly, even now today, I'll go back and Sunday morning watch highlights they post on YouTube and stuff. Because does anybody watch it live anymore? I don't know if that has happened so much with this age of streaming, but still enjoy it. George, what about you?
Yeah, I think I probably started watching the episodes live in middle school. So around like 9, 10, 12, somewhere in that age.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that would have been around the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I, again, just similar to you, people were talking about it in school. And so I wanted to start watching it myself. It was oddly enough mostly of the Dungeons and Dragons group that I hung out with that were the ones watching it, not so much the athletic group that I would hang out with. But I remember enjoying it quite a bit. I did see a lot of the reruns. I assume they were reruns, and maybe some of them were new. I honestly don't remember what was live, what was reruns at that point, which always kind of, like, as I got older, I always questioned, like, can you call it Saturday Night Live if it's a rerun?
Right. Yeah. Right.
But they did
it
anyway.
Was, right. Yeah, it was live.
I remember some of the early cast members that, or not early, but early for me, because that's when I first started watching it, that I really enjoyed. I don't think I got heavy into Saturday Night Live, though, until probably near the end of high school age. So around the late 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
And I think there was some really, really good stuff going on at that time on Saturday Night Live that we'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, I think I watched it pretty regularly. Didn't have a problem staying awake because I was kind of a night owl person anyway. So,
yep. Okay. All right. So we have a baseline. So in this first segment, why don't we talk a little bit about the origin of the show, how it came about? I know there was a pretty cool kind of pseudo documentary dramatic retelling recently that we saw, but why don't we jump into talking about how it came about? Mo, you want to get us kicked off?
Sure. It's funny because a lot of the origins could be traced back to Johnny Carson, of all people. It was because back in the day, at this time slot, they used to show Johnny Carson Tonight Show reruns on Saturday late nights.
Because he was Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
Yep.
And back in, like they said, 74, Carson asked him to stop doing that because he wanted to take more time off. So he wanted to save those reruns so that they could air them when he wasn't available to do a show.
Oh, during the week when he's off.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden they were left with this gap in programming. Where do we put Saturday night at 11:30?
Well, the president was Herbert Schlosser, and he went to the vice president of late night programming, who will come up again in this story, Dick Ebersol.
Oh, yeah.
And said, I need you to create a show to fill that time slot because Carson didn't want you to do that anymore. So the reason they were running Carson there is they had a pretty weak Saturday night lineup, and they were just stuffing it with whatever they had before they went off air at the end of the night. And honestly, the networks didn't really have an interest in filling. It was all about prime time. It was, what are you airing from like 5 to 9 or 10 p.m. on the weekdays? Weekends were not something they were really interested in until we kind of got into the mid to late 70s, where this story kind of picks up.
Yeah, you talk about Dick Ebersol there, John. I never associated him with Saturday Night Live at all. For me, he was always the creator of NBC Sports and the Olympics coverage on NBC.
Yeah,
that was really
huge.
where I knew his name from the most. But he did approach Lorne Michaels, and they talked about it for a few weeks. And then Michaels came up with the idea of a variety show that would have high concept comedy sketches, political satire, well, along with some musical performances, which everybody knows you always get 2 musical performances now with SNL, to try and attract a big demographic that they were going after, the 18 to 34-year-olds.
Right.
Late night, you're not going to get your 50 to 60-year-olds. They're already in the bed, right? Like John's watching it on YouTube Sunday mornings now because he can't stay up.
The Blue Plate special at 6. They're in bed. That's right.
So when they decided to go forward with the show, they based it on the now iconic 30 Rock that everyone knows about, the Studio 8H, which was funny because that was actually a converted radio station studio, whereas they actually used to do like the election and Apollo moon landing coverage was done from there, which was hilarious.
Oh, wow.
But they revamped the studio for the amazingly high cost of $250,000, which back then was probably a big amount of money.
In 77? Wow.
So Michaels had this concept, and initially it was going to be called NBC's Saturday Night. And it wasn't necessarily at that point all that revolutionary. It was going to be a typical variety show. The live concept hadn't come into play yet. And it quickly built into something great. The early years of SNL, you probably know, I have a couple of LPs that I picked up from this early cast. It's that initial cast, the people that set this, and we're going to talk about some of them in a little while here. They were known, I'm sure you've heard this, the not ready for primetime players. That's how they introduced. And it fits. That was the whole point. They're not on primetime. They didn't belong there. They're kind of weird, kind of kooky. And so many, you have your Belushis and your Chases, and they were not ready for primetime.
No.
They were relegated to this Saturday time slot that quickly went from the concept is no longer a variety show. Let's try it live, which is kind of how it shifted.
That makes sense. And that first episode premiered on October 11th, 1975. Oddly enough, not oddly enough, but coolly enough, hosted by George Carlin, one of the greatest
perfect
stand-up comedians of all time. I think that I know earlier I talked about 77 and 75. I think the dollar was probably very similar to 77, but $250,000, that's got to be like $1.5 million today,
at least
something like that.
Yeah.
But they were taking a risk financially on something that Johnny Carson's like, I just want to take more time off.
Yeah, right.
And they were pouring all this money into this thing, not knowing if it was going to be successful.
So how big of a deal was Carson? That tells you how big a deal Carson was. That whatever you want, Johnny. Whatever
he
you
pretty
want.
much name his own terms, Don't lose Carson.
Right.
It's funny in that show that they allude to, and I've heard on many, many interviews from the original cast, that these were like very young, very non-traditional comedians, and I think all of them were stand-up based, and drugs were like a huge thing. You hear stories about Belushi and like the cocaine, and all the Lorraine Newman had a drug problem at the end of this, and Jude Gilderoy, all of them. But they said it actually became like kind of part of the working process, believe it or not, because they usually did most of these things. They were completely stoned when they did a lot of the writing, when they did a lot of the performing, which I guess it kind of showed sometimes, but it was just part of the culture back then too. I mean, this is talking about the late 70s.
Yeah, didn't we talk about when we spoke about the Blues Brothers film that like there was cocaine in the movie budget, like that was part of the creative process, despite the fact that it was an illicit substance. Those artists had become accustomed to that's how they worked, which tells you how hooked they were on it. Coming out of SNL, which is one of those. Blues Brothers came out of SNL, so yeah. Now Lorne Michaels created it. He actually left. I didn't know this before. He left the show in 1980, and they had this other guy run it, Gene Domanian, I don't know, for a year. Then Dick Ebersol, the guy who, George, you said associated with all these other shows, he ran it for a couple of years, but then it was just a little while. 85, Lorne Michaels came back. That season was kind of shaky, but he brought in a new cast. He brought in people like Dana Carvey, Phil Hartman, and really, it started out as a novel idea. It was on shaky ground to get started. Then it went through creative differences, and the creator left, and it was kind of that 85, 86 when I started paying attention to it that it started finding its footing, and it's had its ups and downs, but man, did it really take off after Lorne Michaels came back and helmed it like as he's continued to do ever since.
Yeah, I mean, after he left in 80, like the 81, 82 years, I mean, I don't think anyone can even remember who was on the show. I mean, because it was just not the same show. The original cast had pretty much all left except for one or two of them. It was really a kind of a sad time for the show back then. And something that's really funny, I think I've told you guys this, but in 85, I actually got to see it perform. I actually went and saw Saturday Night Live recorded. And
did you tell us that? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. And it was the episode with Eddie Murphy. Nick Nolte was supposed to host, but he got sick. So Eddie Murphy wound up hosting the show.
Cool.
Even though he was a cast member.
Nick Nolte got sick on all the cocaine that was in the budget.
Yeah,
That's what Nolte got sick off of.
He was fine till he got to the green room, and then he absolutely got too slammed that he couldn't go on.
The green room became the rainbow room.
For him.
And then you talk about dating us here. Guess who the musical guest was on that?
Oh, no.
85?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Police? Sting?
No, Lionel Richie.
Lionel Richie. Yeah, makes sense.
It's quality. He sang Truly on there. I just remember a part where like they had like a camera over Lionel Richie so you can see his hands on the keyboard. And Eddie Murphy comes out and he's like, what if that shit falls in his head?
The camera?
They see him pull the camera back. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that.
Well, the cast has rotated quite a bit over the years, as we said. It went up and down, and lots of memorable, except maybe that down year in 81. We'll see. But we get back, we're going to highlight some of our favorite cast members. Stick around.
Jif peanut butter. It's that Jiffing good. It doesn't really need advertising. So instead, enjoy the calming sounds of the ocean. It's that Jiffing good. Get your Jif at Jif.com.
Disney's Lilo & Stitch has finally landed on Disney+. Now you can watch the global phenomenon at home with your Ohana.
Be good for 1 second.
Lilo & Stitch is verified hot on Rotten Tomatoes with an audience score of 93%.
Perfect.
Stitch is also cute and fluffy.
Disney's Lilo & Stitch, rated PG, now streaming on Disney+. And right now, you can get Disney+, Hulu, and all of ESPN with an incredible limited time offer. Terms apply.
Be sure to subscribe to or follow Gen X Grown Up wherever you listen. And while you're there, rate and review the show too. It helps more than you know.
The new Amazon Echo has everyone asking Alexa for help.
Alyssa, what time is it? What the hell is wrong with this blasted thing? Amanda!
But the latest technology isn't always easy to use for people of a certain age.
These kids done bought me a busted machine again. Odessa!
That's why Amazon partnered with AARP to present the new Amazon Echo Silver, the only smart speaker device designed specifically to be used by the greatest generation. It's super loud and responds to any name even remotely close to Alexa, so they can find out the weather.
Allegra, what is the weather outside?
It is 74 degrees and sunny.
Huh?
It is 74 degrees and sunny.
Where?
Outside.
What about it?
The temperature outside is 74 degrees and sunny.
I don't know about that.
The latest in sports.
Clarissa, how many did old Satchel strike out last night?
Satchel Paige died in 1982.
How many he get?
Satchel Paige is dead.
He what now?
Died.
Who did?
Satchel Paige.
I don't know about that.
Even local news and pop culture.
Anita, what them boys up to across the street?
They are just playing.
They what now?
They are just playing.
You say they just playing now?
Yes, they are just playing.
I don't know about that.
Pair it to smart devices like your thermostat.
Alessandra, turn the heat up.
The room is already 100 degrees.
Are you trying to kill me, Alize?
The new Amazon Echo Silver plays all the music they loved when they were young.
Angela, play black jazz.
Playing, jazz.
It also has a quick scan feature to help them find things.
Emilia, where did I put the phone?
The phone is in your right hand.
And it has an feature for long rambling stories.
So then I gave him $5, and he said I only gave him $1. I said, I know I gave you a $5. Because I only had a 5 and a 1 on me. And this is the $1 right here. So, I mean, you tell me who's crazy.
Amazon Echo Silver. Get yours today. I said get yours today.
To order Amazon Echo Silver, send a check or money order to Amazon.com right now.
Again, as the probably only one who was old enough to see it when it first started, I do remember the original cast. And here's a little known weird fact. You know, they always did the cast in alphabetical order when they announced them.
Oh, really?
Yes, by last name.
They still do that today.
Yep, they still do that to this day. It's always alphabetical by last name.
Well, that's very fair. I'm sure that
exactly. It's very neutral.
The
right?
Aykroyds of the world are thrilled about that, but the
rest of them.
People start with a Z don't care so much for that.
Right, Gilda Radner's like, this bullshit.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's right. And the original cast, I mean, the key members of the original cast were Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, Chevy Chase, Jane Curtin, Garrett Morris, Lorraine Newman, and Gilda Radner. Now, there were two other people, Michael O'Donoghue and George Coe, who were today they were like the secondary people. Like you see sometimes
like extras or something.
They were extras. They were mostly writers. They helped with a lot of the writing, and they were but they weren't part of the initial cast that they announced during the beginning of the show. They were not in there.
Gotcha.
You know, kind of like they still do that today. Like there's some people you see like in one or two skits, and then you don't see them anywhere else.
Yeah, it's always special guests, and they have them listed after the main players. Yeah,
also including it's like,
exactly
those folks.
Folks. But I mean, but just talk about just the stand-up talent back then, because these were all like people at their top of their game as far as doing stand-up, and these were all like pretty much well-established comedians at this point, and just to be able to pull this kind of crew together was, I think, pretty phenomenal.
Well, and weren't they also pulled together in a way that kind of developed that whole live mentality, because they were used to doing the whole like sketch comedy stuff, not
live improv
stage, the live improv kind of thing, not I wrote a script and I'm going to tell 12 jokes and get off stage kind of people. Aykroyd and Belushi and all those guys, I think they were mostly part of that scene, right? The improv comedy stuff.
Oh yeah, they were part of the Second City and all that stuff too. I think they were involved with too back in Chicago.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure.
From what I have read and seen, SNL, Lorne Michaels kind of poached some SCTV talent that was already doing well. And you can look back on it and go, oh, you poached these people, but what did you create out of it? Perhaps that evil was worth it for that.
Right,
evil
really.
is an exaggeration, but kind of sketchy. And they continue to, we could take a whole podcast just listing all the cast members and not even talk about them, Riley. But we just each kind of picked some of our favorite and notables that we look back on and enjoy. One that was big during the time when I watched SNL the most in the mid 80s, late 80s was Chris Farley. Now he has a tragic story. We lost him far too soon, but he was like a modern John Candy. When John Candy was still around and doing well, I mean, but he was like this next level John Candy, this oversized actor who played into the funniness of he's kind of a big guy, and he just led with it. He's like, oh, you want me topless to dance around with Patrick Swayze? I'll do that. Whatever crazy thing you want. You want me to be the guy screaming about the van down by the river? I could do that. He was so manic in a way that almost Jim Carrey-like, but in a more grounded way for me. I always found Chris Farley to be fun to look at.
I would say he was more associated with Jim Belushi.
Yeah.
I can see the Jim Belushi connection there.
I mean, especially because he even foretold his own death a little bit, saying he was going to go out the way Belushi did. And
John Belushi
kind of did.
You know?
John. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know what you meant. Yeah, John Belushi. Yeah, they had a similar trajectory, of course, in there. Yeah, for me, I equated him to be just another of, and I guess Belushi was too, just another kind of a big guy who leaned into the comedy of being the big guy in a cast of just average sized guys, but with a bigger than life sense of humor and a way to convey that on the screen that just, he stole every scene he was in, as far as I was concerned. Chris Farley is just a great talent.
And then there's people like Amy Poehler. I mean, she's in the kind of the early 2000s, later 2000s. But man, talk about career. I mean, she went off and did Parks and Recreation. She's written a whole bunch of movies. She's done so much. I mean, again, she's one of the people that seem like I never heard of until this show, but you can't not see her anymore after this show, from her appearance on it.
And just launches her into like, oh, here's what you're capable of. You just had to get a shot. And she did. And look where she's gone. Wow.
Yeah. And I mostly remember her from doing the news. That seems like the part where I seem to most remember her from. Like, not so much sketch, like a particular character sketch, but just from her mostly anchoring it. But but she did a whole bunch on the show, though.
Yeah.
You talk about one of the ones who nobody expected to do anything that has turned out to be one of the A-listers of all-time comedy, film, and TV shows is Adam Sandler. So this guy, there's a story, and I recently watched it. There was an interview with Brad Pitt and Adam Sandler where Brad Pitt is telling his favorite Adam Sandler story that when Adam Sandler was in college, he had an acting coach take him out for a beer and tell him, look, son, you've got all the heart and all the drive and everything, but you just don't have it. You need to consider another profession.
Really?
Well, of course, Adam Sandler goes on to MTV, that game show, Remote Control, and then he ends up on Saturday Night Live from that, and he becomes the Adam Sandler. Well, after he was big and blown up and hitting his biggest paydays, he's out with some of his friends, and he sees that professor at a bar.
Oh, my God.
Now, everybody on the planet would say, didn't have it, huh? You know what Adam Sandler does? This is where he gets his Keanu Reeves kind of nice guy image from, this kind of story. He walks up, he introduces that professor to all his friends, and then he tells all his friends, hey guys, this is the only professor that ever bought me a beer.
That's class.
Just pure class, super nice guy.
With so many other avenues you could have taken. Right.
Yeah. He buys cars for all of his co-stars just to say thank you for being in the movie. He's beloved, but he got a lot of his hard comedy chops and his dedicated work ethic from Saturday Night Live, because that is a grueling program to work on.
Oh, it is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. When somebody else who's kind of close to my heart is Tina Fey. One, because she was the first female head writer of Saturday Night Live ever.
Was she?
Yep. Okay. I heard there's rumors now that she may be taking it over. I don't know if that's going to be true or not, but they think she may be the one taking over the reins. Yep.
Really?
Have her take it over.
I think that's a good fit.
I think it's a great fit.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
She also did 30 Rock, a whole show that was based loosely on a show kind of like Saturday Night Live, sort of, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing I have to give her props for is that on the final episode of 30 Rock, she actually calls out my aunt's bakery on the show.
Is that right? Oh, yeah.
Because she's like, they're doing a lunch and she says, get da-da-da-da and get desserts from Make My Cake. Because she actually used to go there. They have actually a signed autographed picture of her up there.
Oh, cool.
So for that, I will always love her.
That's cool. And I had not heard about her maybe taking over when Michaels retires, but I guess it would make sense. You want to pick somebody who has a history with the show and is a proven, and she's both.
But also stays really close to the television industry. Some of the other people have just moved on to big movies,
not moved on,
and that's their career now. But yeah,
that's a decent fit. Yeah. one of my favorites, Will Ferrell. Now, he came around in the mid-90s, I guess, was when he came around. So it might have been in the window when I wasn't paying attention. So he snuck up on me.
That cheerleader routine.
He's
Oh my God,
right.
yeah.
There's so many memorable sketches, the cheerleader thing, and beyond Saturday Night Live, he's in so many of my favorite sketches. That's one, and we'll talk about some of our favorite sketches later on in this episode. But also the things that came out of Saturday Night Live. You could talk about the flops that came out of SNL, and we'll get to talking about those, I'm sure. But he's in so many good things that came out of it. Anchorman, well, not out of SNL, but his fame, Talladega Nights, Blades of Glory, just so many things that he has become a movie star in his own right. He teams up with his buddy John C. Reilly, who in so many things like Talladega Nights and Step Brothers and things like that. It's just, he is another one of those. He's a self-deprecating comic. He's not afraid to look foolish. He's not just trying to be funny. He is funny. And then when he then does something funny as a funny person, it doubles up, and somehow he's able to, you can see him working hard, but also looks like he's not doing anything because he just is that funny. It's this weird dichotomy of things. He's a unicorn. Like, I haven't seen anybody quite like him. And I know some people can't stand him because he's so dopey goofy, but I appreciate that in Will Ferrell. He's always been one of my favorites. And I got to thank SNL for bringing him, like Tina Fey and Adam Sandler, giving them a career they might not have otherwise had.
Yeah.
Big part of that revamped 85 cast that Mo talked about a little while ago absolutely has to be Phil Hartman, probably the most stoic, straight funny man on the show's history. And of course, just like Chris Farley and just like John Belushi, tragic end.
Yeah.
I think in no fault of his own, he was murdered
by
his wife. Just tragic loss. At the time, I think he was doing news radio, which was a very popular show with another famous improv guy, Dave Foley. They were doing that one together. Phil Hartman, his character work on Saturday Night Live, it's not where he was the star of a sketch that he showed the best talent. It was when he was the secondary character in the sketch. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite sketches when we get to that part, and he is not the star of that sketch by any stretch of the imagination. Someone else is. But the way he delivers the lines and keeps the star and everybody else in the scene on track, it's like a father making sure his children get to the vacation that they're trying to get to.
Yeah.
Well, that's the unsung role of being a straight man like that. Not that he wasn't funny, but he would often be the more straight-laced, the more responsible character because he was so good at it. And then it's how he reacts to that where the humor often comes from. And his reactions as that supporting character led to him being so beloved. He did for me, for sure.
It was just that wry, sly look at the camera he could do. Yeah, I'm straight, but you guys know what I'm fucking thinking right now. He was just brilliant at delivering that unspoken moment. I thought he was great with that.
It is. Oh, yeah. Oh, what a loss.
And it's funny, going through the list of all the different people who've been in Saturday Night Live, there's a whole bunch of people who were actually cast members that were only on for one season, but people may not know it, like Robert Downey Jr. was on for a season.
That's right. Yeah.
Anthony Michael Hall was on as well.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Joan Cusack, another one who was on there. And even Damon Wayans was on.
Before In Living Color.
Just for one season. It's like, and I think at the time they were trying to get they were experimenting with getting actors instead of comedians, to see how that worked differently.
Yeah.
They quickly went back to comedians. Actors, there are some really funny actors, don't get me wrong, but the skills to be able to do a live show and do this kind of stuff, it takes a certain type of person to do
different muscles. Yeah. Different abilities. Right.
We talked about the unsung cast members that Mo just brought up, the people who you don't realize were a part of the show. But there's one person in particular that if you talk to somebody about Saturday Night Live, you will catch them swearing up and down that this person was one of the original cast members from that very first season, and that's Steve Martin. We know he wasn't an official cast member, but he's hosted it more times than anybody else, I think, at this point. And some of the work that he did with the Saturday Night Live hosting duties and sketches and everything, it goes back to what Mo's talking about, needing a stand-up comedian as opposed to an actor, which granted Steve Martin is kind of both really at this point.
He is.
But he was so good at it that people retroactively Berenstain-Baird him back into the cast of Saturday Night Live.
It was funny that one episode that I actually went to see. It was funny at the very end of the show. He came running out on the stage. Steve Martin did. He's like,
"Oh yeah,
I was available. Why didn't they call me?"
He may have never been officially a cast member, but he's just inextricably linked to the early history of SNL. And so, I mean, I know you're right. And I know that at times I used to think Steve Martin when was he a cast member? Go to look it up and can't find it. And we know that now, but it's like an honorary cast member. It's like, yeah, you weren't you didn't have a jersey. You didn't get a ring when we won the championship, but you were on the team, really. Like he was such a part of that because he was the go-to. And every time he was on, he killed. He brought his comedy chops. He brought his deadpan, like clueless wit to his monologues and stuff like that. And some of the best monologues to watch are going back and watch those Steve Martin monologues because he just got so good at it. He was so comfortable there.
Mm-hmm. And I think also, I mean, he's one of those people that was never a cast member, but he gets brought in to just do a sketch out of nowhere. Like he's not the host that night.
Right. Yep.
But he just pops up in a sketch and everybody's like, holy shit. And the crowd goes crazy and everything. He might have done that more than almost anybody else. I mean, I know we've got other ones like Christopher Walken, who has done that a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
But it felt like he just kind of hung around 30 Rock. Right? Like he was just always in the area. Like Bo said, he runs out on stage. I was available. He probably, like he walks in on a Wednesday night and they rewrite a whole goddamn sketch just because Martin says he'll be there Saturday.
Sure. Okay. We've touched on some of as we've talked through these
so many
these great artists, of which we've left out hundreds, 100 at least. We also touched on some of our favorite skits and sketches. We get back. We're going to talk about our favorites. Stick around.
This podcast is supported by FX's English Teacher. Last year's critically acclaimed series returns to follow Evan, Gwen, and Marky as they vie for their students' divided attention. See why Cosmopolitan called its premiere season a masterclass of comedy, while Glamour raved it's the year's funniest and most heartwarming new comedy series. FX's English Teacher returns tonight at 9 on FX. All episodes streaming on Hulu.
If you thought goldenly breaded McDonald's chicken couldn't get more golden, think Golder, because new sweet and smoky special edition gold sauce is here, made for your chicken favorites at participating McDonald's for a limited time.
Each episode of Gen X Grown Up has show notes loaded with links where you can learn more about our topics. And there's even more to see and hear over at GenXGrownUp.com.
I hope you're having fun. I know it sucks Brad's out of town.
Yeah, but it's still nice to have some me time, right?
There she is.
Babe, stop.
What? I can't help it. I love you so much.
Oh, watch it, guy.
Oh, you want to fight me? Let's get it, bro.
Okay, that's my cue. I gotta get him out of here.
Okay, I'll see you guys later.
You'll never find love like this.
Okay, that's enough.
Wishing your man was here, he would be a handful. But wow, do you miss him? Now, you don't have to. Introducing My Drunk Boyfriend, the only life-size doll guaranteed to make you feel like your man is right there with you. And he's hammered. 150 pounds of dead weight, and you get to be his babysitter. Designed to mimic the behavior of the sloppy grown man that you can't get enough of. Programmed to say over 200 unique phrases.
I think I'm gonna take piano lessons.
It's always a fun night with My Drunk Boyfriend.
Cops. Who wants cops?
You'll love hearing about his big
I'm
plans.
gonna do it. I'm gonna call my boss and quit.
Or when he cries over a dead relative he's never mentioned before.
My uncle! My uncle!
With My Drunk Boyfriend beside you, you'll never miss out on a night of rolling him over when he snores. And oh no, watch out. My Drunk Boyfriend has a timer set to get up in the middle of the night and pee into your hamper.
No, that's the laundry.
Goodbye.
Plus, with the new My Drunk Boyfriend expansion pack, you'll get all sorts of accessories, like pants that don't come all the way off, a charred frozen pizza that he brought into bed, a glass of water he will ignore, and just one more beer. My Drunk Boyfriend. He's a problem, but he's your problem.
From the makers of My Drunk Girlfriend.
Are you mad at me?
Yeah, I'm mad at you.
Now, as promised before the break, we're going to talk in this segment about some of our favorite, most memorable sketches. Now, just like when we talked about the great talent and cast members, we can't list them all. So we each tasked ourselves with picking a couple of favorites.
That was so hard.
And some of us cheated, which is okay. I might be one of them. That's all right. But I want to start with you, George. What's your first pick as one of your most memorable and beloved sketches?
Yeah, oddly enough, I didn't cheat. This was the one time where I
it's
played
weird,
straight,
strange.
Picked a single skit for each one of my choices here. I was going to cheat, and I was going to say the totality of the Weekend Update, because to this day, I don't necessarily need to watch the entire episode, but I will always watch Weekend Update just because I feel like it's one of the best parts of the show. It is always topical. They're always talking about something that is happening in the world today. And I love that they don't pull any punches. I mean, if you go all the way back, to the early days, there's been some great skits. You talk about the Dennis Miller stuff in the 80s that was so popular, it ended up putting him on Monday Night Football as a goddamn co-host. I mean, he was that big at that point. Norm Macdonald through the late 80s, early 90s was just so irreverent and fuck you to everybody with his stuff.
Yes.
It was great.
Yep.
But I got to go back to one of those original cast member sessions. Weekend Update, Dan Aykroyd and Jane, you ignorant slut.
Oh my God, I remember the first time I heard that. I was like,
so this was a point counterpoint segment, which was popular in news discussion programs of the day. It was set up like a debate where there would be a topic that was important going on in the news, and one anchor would pick the pro and one would pick the con. It's no wonder that I was drawn toward this when I first saw it later on in reruns. But they're talking about an actor who today's modern audience, they won't remember it all, but he was going through a divorce with his wife. And in that divorce settlement, she wanted a whole bunch of his money, but she had cheated on him like 40 times. And so Jane is sitting there talking, she's delivering the woman's viewpoint of the thing. Like, there's always a strong woman behind every successful man and this, that, and the other. And then Aykroyd just hits her with the deadest cold line in history. Jane, you ignorant slut.
Yeah.
And he just lambasts not only the wife, but Jane.
Yeah, it was like all personal. It was like totally a personal thing.
It is awesome. I hope that we're putting links for YouTube videos where we can find them in the show notes for this, because hearing me talk about it doesn't matter, but it is very important for you to go watch some of these sketches, because oh my God, I think it's like maybe 4 or 5 minutes. It's well worth 20 minutes worth of time if they did that much. But holy hell, Jane, you ignorant slut. I know how that plays in today's culture. It's still fucking funny.
It's still funny. It's hilarious. Yeah. It's so unexpected. It comes out of left field. You're waiting for the educated intellectual rebuttal, and it's just this bam, this crazy diss. You're like, whoa, hold on.
What was that one line he said? You hop from more beds than some electronics part or something, and I'm just looking on the floor.
Okay. All right. Can I compete with that? We'll see. This was my cheat. This was my first cheat. And it was, I will pick a single, and it's Dick in a Box. But in general, the digital shorts.
They've gotten so good.
They're so good. And I first became aware of them with Lazy Sunday, which was Sandberg and Parnell. And they're going to see Narnia. Like, it's this hardcore, absolute gangster rap about the two of them meeting up to go watch the Legend of Narnia in the movie, right? And but like the Lonely Island, Sandberg's band kind of came out of these digital shorts because they'd been around for a while as kids, and they did like On a Boat and On the Ground and stuff like that. We've seen things like Shy Ronnie and Natalie's Rap and stuff like that.
Natalie's Rap. Yeah.
Right, with Natalie Portman. And it's just so, whenever the title card comes up, you come back from a break and it says an SNL digital short, you're like, oh, damn, here we go. Because it is a well-produced, well-thought-out, hilarious, extended gag that either subverts your expectations and I'll keep coming back to Dick in a Box, which is just so funny because it's like these 80s hip-hop guys not hip hop, but you know what I mean. They're smooth. They got the big rope gold chain and the turtleneck and everything. And then they're singing about the most ridiculous things. It makes it so funny.
You know, it's those pre-recorded segments. And even though it's Saturday Night Live, they have to intersperse pre-recorded segments because they got to do set changes, costume changes, all that kind of stuff. It's virtually impossible for them to move from one thing to another without having something in between. For me, the modern day equivalent, which I just found out for this upcoming season, has been discontinued. The Please Don't Destroy group.
Oh no, those guys are cool.
One of the guys is a main cast member now, but the other two guys are gone, which is sad.
Yeah.
For season, I guess, what is it, 51 now, right?
51,
yeah.
But I love those pre-recorded segments. The thing that the digital shorts did better than almost anyone, though, was the juxtaposition of what they started off presenting and what it became.
Oh, yeah. It takes a turn midway through, usually.
Exactly.
You're thinking this is nice.
The Shyamalan twist that they did
What a
so much
twist.
better than he does were brilliant.
Oh, my God.
All right, Mo. Give us your first pick.
Yeah, I had a tough time doing this, so I slightly cheated. I said Jeopardy, which
I like it.
Means Black Jeopardy and Celebrity Jeopardy, because they were both hilarious. To me, one of the funniest one, though, is when they did Black Jeopardy with Tom Hanks. I don't know if you ever saw that skit where it's like, he's like a country, down home guy. And all of a sudden they start realizing the things they have in common, which was the best part. Like one of the things was like, he's like a skinny woman or something like that. And he's like, is good for nothing. And the woman was like, yeah. I like a woman with a little bit of heft on, and they're like, oh, you're all right. I mean, it was just so funny. Then they said like, the ending skit was like, okay, let's talk, this is Black Lives what? And he's like, I have thoughts on that. Like, yeah. We're going to stop there. We're going to move on because we're not going to talk about that. But just those skits and the celebrity ones too were just, oh my God, this ones that you could put on and just watch through all of them and you could be dying the entire time.
Yeah. Well, some of my favorites were the ones with when they had Sean Connery.
Right.
A fake Sean Connery.
Yeah.
And he was always, and Will Ferrell would be Trebek.
Yep.
And Connery was always mispronouncing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take bone ape tit. That's bon appetit. And he was always misunderstanding. I'll do the rapist. All right. Therapist for 200. They had so much fun, and it wasn't about the game. It was about whoever. It was usually Celebrity Jeopardy or Black Jeopardy, like you said, that kind of thing. Always funny, and they were live. Unlike some of those others you said before, some of those pre-recorded, they had to do post-production and stuff. But the Celebrity Jeopardy one's another one of those. The best part of live sometimes was watching people. They couldn't take it when it was so funny.
Yes, they couldn't keep a straight face.
And a lot of that happened on the Jeopardy. You got another one for us, George?
Yeah. So I had a really tough time on my second choice because we all agreed to just doing two.
Yes.
And as Mo pointed out, that's nearly fucking impossible.
Yes, it is.
I know. Yeah.
When you're talking about your favorite Saturday Night Live sketches, I was very close to doing the Beavis and Butthead that came out just a couple of years ago because that was hilarious. But it wasn't hilarious because of the skit. It was hilarious because of the break.
Yes.
Right?
The reactions.
When the cast member broke, that was what made that skit huge and viral and everything. I then almost settled on Sweaty Balls, the Alec Baldwin NPR skit, because that also had breaks, but it was a really well-crafted skit. It was beautiful. But I finally decided on the one that John kind of highlighted and talked about earlier, Matt Foley, Down by the River.
Oh,
yeah.
This is Chris Farley at his absolute best. I mean, I could have gone with the Patrick Swayze Chippendales audition.
I thought about that one.
I like Van Down by the River for Chris Farley a little bit more than that one. So first of all, it's Chris Farley, David Spade, Phil Hartman, like I talked about earlier. Yep. He was the father in this segment. Julie Sweeney, who also did the It's Pat stuff. Mm-hmm. And then the host for that night was Christina Applegate. So David Spade and Christina Applegate played the children. Julie Sweeney and Phil Hartman played the parents. And they were trying to get their children to start doing better in life. So they brought in a motivational speaker which was Matt Foley, who he had down in the fucking basement all day drinking coffee. Chris Farley comes bounding up the stairs, and he does some of the most outlandish movements and mannerisms to highlight what he was trying to say. And then there's the part that everybody remembers where he falls face first into the coffee table and destroys it. That was unplanned. David Spade, Christine Applegate, nobody knew he was going to do that. He just chose it in the moment. That's part of the beauty of live TV.
That's Chris Farley.
And then everybody forgets the rest of that segment because table busting is what you remember. It's like chest bursting in Alien. Nobody remembers what happens in the rest of that scene sometimes. But at the end of that, Hartman has to contain and corral Farley because Farley's like, I'm going outside to get all my stuff to move in and keep motivating these kids. They do a couple more of this skit later on, but Hartman has to contain the whole thing and bind it all together. And Farley's still just kind of going off on his thing. And it's just a beautiful skit. Mm-hmm. It may be one of the best of all time for Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, it's got my man in it. He's hard to go wrong. And that's one of those things we've mentioned. Living in a van down right by the river has become like a eat my shorts. It's a saying. Well, you might not even know the sketch, but you understand what that reference is. Mm-hmm. You know, oh, if you don't do things right, here's what's going to end up to you, right? It's one of those things has become ingrained in our culture.
Yeah.
Came out of that ridiculous sketch.
Well, another thing that came ingrained out of SNL that's in our culture now is the one that you've got to talk about, John.
Oh, you're damn right.
I would have picked this one, but you already had it on the list.
Well, you're welcome because it's going to be highlighted. So this has my man Will Ferrell in it.
Yeah.
Playing Gene Frankel, who is a fictional and yet very passionate cowbell player for Blue Oyster Cult in the More Cowbell sketch. Now, this had Christopher Walken. Again, we mentioned he kind of popped in, playing Bruce Dickinson, who's supposed to be, I'm just like everybody else. I wear my pants, put on my pants one leg at a time. But once I have my pants on, I make gold records. So, he's advising the Blue Oyster Cult band as they're recording Don't Fear the Reaper.
Yeah.
And Farrell is the one with the cowbell that is in the song, but he's so overly enthusiastic about it. And it's got Chris Kattan, Parnell, Jimmy Fallon is in there. Mm-hmm. And he's playing the cowbell right next to Kattan's head, like right in his ear. And they keep stopping the song. And they go, hey, Bruce, can you come out? Can we talk a little about babies? What are you doing? This was a beautiful thing. Why did you wreck this take? I'm wondering about the cowbell. Yeah. More cowbell. We're going to need more.
Yeah.
And then they try it again, and he's enthused, and he's dancing around. He stops it again, calls Bruce in. Yeah, you're going to dial it back some, not too much, because you're going to want that cowbell. And they have this big tiff, and they back and forth. And finally, the band comes around and says, let's lay it down together. Let's do all the cowbell. Bruce Dickinson's the man, but that just is, I got the fever.
Mm-hmm.
The only cure is more cowbell. It's so funny.
To me, I think the funniest part of that sketch, you take away the crazy performance from Farrell, the Chris Walken delivering the like so passionate, I've got to have more cowbell stuff. Will Ferrell midriff in that scene, that shirt that he picked out was fucking perfect.
Not
for
afraid
that
to embarrass himself,
yeah.
right? And lean into that. I love that.
He's done the nudity thing in a lot of different shows and movies. Talladega Nights that you talked about earlier, when he's doing the tighty-whitey run around the track and everything. He's not afraid to be naked, old school, running down the street anyway, but still, that midriff, that shirt that looks like it was picked out by his mother when he was 14 years old. And he's
3 sizes too small. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And he's banging the cowbell over his head and it's riding up over his belly. But he doesn't fix it. He's into the cowbell. He's into it.
Oh.
Let him wail, Bruce says. Let him wail.
I think it's one of the things that also the beauty of Saturday Night Live is that you get these hosts that you would not think are funny or think would not be good. But then you get like Christopher Walken. He was hilarious on Saturday Night Live.
Of course.
You know? Yep. And so you get these actors who are on there. You're like, oh, he's kind of like a normal straight actor. But then I guess they have these comedy instincts in them that you never knew they had. And you get some of these amazing performances from these people that you least expect it from.
Babies, you're going to want that cowbell. All right. I can talk about that for another hour, but Mo, why don't you round this out? What was your second pick?
So I'm pulling a sketch from the original season, the first season.
Ooh.
Richard Pryor and Chevy Chase. Right. It's just the two of them.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now
it's the word.
There's only one skit that qualifies with that.
Yep. It's the word association sketch. And people, I'm going to do my best to describe it, but I cannot. And if you go watch it, I'm going to put a link. You'll see why I cannot go into big detail on this. But Richard Pryor is applying for a job, and Chevy Chase is the interviewer, and he's asking, okay, like we like to do a little psychological test and a little word association. I'm with a word. You tell me the first word that pops in your head. And Richard Pryor's like, yeah, okay. And it starts off with just like normal, like dog, cat, house, mom, or whatever. And then out of nowhere, Chevy Chase throws in a racial slur. Just says it.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing. Just like it's nothing. And Richard Pryor's face, because he was brilliant. He's just like confused. He says, what? What? And Chevy Chase just looks down at his paper, says it again. Just calmly. Yeah. And then Richard Pryor throws back a racial slur back at him, just calmly, And then it escalates. They keep going, they keep doing worse and worse and worse. So finally, Chevy Chase drops the N-word. Mm-hmm. And Richard Pryor's response to that was hilarious.
Well, because he was set up with a prior one.
Yeah.
Because he said the slur back in the prior one, and then he added to it.
Yes.
Yep. We won't spoil it for you. You got to watch it. We cannot do it justice here.
Because YouTube, I mean, they will totally ban this thing from being on YouTube or whatever just because we say these words. But, well, one thing it shows me is the show back then was fearless. Like they would do skits about anything. Like you couldn't do that skit today, would not fly.
Oh no,
this was live network TV that they got this past the censors on somehow.
Right.
Like I feel like maybe the censor wasn't given the script ahead of time and given an alternate script.
Yeah, I'm thinking not too. And by then, because they didn't have the tape
or
delay,
a watered down version, perhaps.
Yeah, they didn't.
Oh, sorry, that was an ad lib. We didn't know they were going to do that. Haha. Right? They planned it all along, probably. Right.
But it's had become like it's now become like a classic skit from back then. Like you said, I mean, that's Jane, you ignorant slut. All these things that they today, like you said, it would be people would be screaming at them for if they did stuff like that today.
Oh yeah, it would get the show canceled.
Yeah, which is not really fair because I think they were making fun of the fact.
Of course they were.
Like they were poking fun at the problem.
Of course.
And instead of avoiding it, they're just hitting it head on with a sledgehammer.
That's
which
what
I think
good comedy
really
and parody does. And some people don't see that. They don't see the forest for the trees.
It's kind of like the reaction that Dave Chappelle got whenever he did his blind KKK member skit on the Dave Chappelle show. That got a lot of ire and a lot of people were mad as hell about that. But he said, look, I'm showing how dumb this mentality is. That's what I'm trying to prove.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Watch it. I won't subscribe it.
Oh, we will. Yeah. I'll watch it again. Yep. All right. We get back from this break. We're going to talk a little bit more about the lingering and lasting impacts SNL has had on other pop culture. Stick around.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar, zero patience for slow walkers, those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night, have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
If you're a die-hard Gen X grown-up, you can pledge your support by clicking join on YouTube or by becoming a patron at GenXGrownUp.com/Patreon.
Shopping online is as easy as it gets. Wouldn't it be great if hiring plumbers, carpenters, and even piano tuners was just as simple? Now it is with Aaron's List. With just a few clicks, you can find anyone from a handyman to a house cleaner.
Like Angie's List?
Sure, Except we offer prices 30% lower than our competitors.
Wow, where do you find these guys, Aaron?
Oh, I'm not Aaron. Aaron stands for the American Registry of Non-Violent Sex Offenders.
What?
Look, no one wants to hire the bad kind of sex offender. That's why Aaron's list only features non-violent individuals who committed low-level sexual misdemeanors, like streaking, public urination, missed the cutoff on statutory stuff, toilet camera, and penis pranks. And their offender status makes them eager to find jobs of any kind.
Huh. So, do you have lawn specialists?
I'm sorry, and I'm ready to work.
What about janitors for my small business?
There are literally thousands of us.
Even dog walkers?
I'll do it.
And they'll always be upfront about their offenses.
I exposed myself on a Jumbotron. Take that, Kiss Cam.
I peed in all the file cabinets marked P.
Wow. Where have you guys been all my life?
Let's just say living in a tent village under the highway.
Aaron's List, because the real crime is high prices.
We have touched on the best you could do with such a large scope Saturday Night Live, some of our favorite cast members and scenes and moments and stuff, memories from Saturday Night Live. But looking backwards at that, looking forward now beyond Saturday Night Live, it has had a lasting and ongoing impact on the pop culture landscape, not just in phrases like Down by the River and More Cowbell and things like that, but in other shows and media that's come out. Around the same time that SNL came out, Second City Television, SCTV, I think it was like 75, 76, right in the same little window there. It also started. That was up in Canada, and it had a whole other cast of amazing people like Eugene Levy and John Candy and O'Hara. People came out of that. Another huge raft of actors. Now, it didn't have the long life that SNL has had. And it was not live. It was sketch comedy, but the same flavor of kind of irreverent late 70s sketch comedy.
Yeah. And the other thing is it came on after Saturday Night Live. So it was really late.
Yeah, when it came on, right. When it came on in the US.
So like you had to be really dedicated to see it. But it was funny. They said it was not quite the production value of Saturday Night Live.
Sure.
But again, it was a lot of famous people.
Well, they didn't have the Dick Ebersol sports budget behind them.
That's true.
Was that Johnny Carson money?
Right.
I mentioned Damon Wayans. He was in another sketch comedy show In Living Color, which I know I watched that one.
Yeah.
And that had a whole bunch of famous, all the Wayans.
Like the whole Wayans family.
Jim Carrey came out of that, right?
Jim Carrey came out of that.
Color, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was and that's also a show I think was great.
Tommy Davidson.
Yeah. And it also pushed things too, which I liked.
Sure.
Saturday Night Live for a while wasn't doing that, and I think they kind of saw that gap and sort of filled in and says, okay, we need to do something really edgy here, and that's what they did.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is a more modern version of the show, and it's not still on anymore. It only lasted for 5 seasons, but it's called The Whitest Kids You Know. It started in 2007. None of the people in it are people that you would recognize by their name, but it was a fun TV series. They had a lot of different sketch comedy stuff going on, but it wasn't live. It was all pre-recorded sketch kind of stuff, kind of like SCTV, just higher production value because it's a more modern film. But it's still worth noting just how SNL has created a format that other shows have emulated in the future. I think the SNL influence on these types of shows are in their pre-recorded segments that I talked about earlier that are so integral to Saturday Night Live after the first season. You really can't get away with doing that show without them.
Yep. Yeah. Now, another one that came out in Whitest Kids was like mid 2000s, right?
2007.
Yeah. In mid 90s, we got Mad TV. Now, another one pre-recorded, but clearly in the flavor of that irreverent sort of, we're going to do sketch comedy that makes fun of everything that's currently going on in pop culture. And they also had like a lot of those people that you now think of who like David Herman, Phil Lamar, Nicole Sullivan, Deborah Wilson, people like that.
Will Sasso.
Yeah, Will Sasso. I love him.
Oh, yeah.
Again, people that came up in this that went on to have a career that might not have otherwise, but now have become universally known as either voice talent or getting all kinds of work. I swear I see Phil Lamar in so many things, and I still think back to seeing him in Mad TV.
I'm shocked that you're not talking about the two most influential people of today's media landscape that came out of Mad TV.
Who are you talking
Key
about?
and Peele.
Of course, right.
Yes, yeah,
they were
Key
in the
and Peele.
first season, I think, and they came along after, but they were huge breakouts.
Mhm.
Yeah, tremendous. And we talked a little bit about Mad TV in our episode about Mad Magazine.
Yeah.
But
Right.
here's that confluence of a couple of our topics we've talked about before. It's one of those that clearly inspired by the success of SNL. And again, with the same model, we're going to find this amazing talent you didn't know was out there, put them in all these great sketches and watch them shine.
Well, you want to talk about a group of people coming together to create a show. This one was done slightly differently. So in most of those other cases, it's a producer director gathering together a cast. In this case, it was a cast gathering together to create a show, Kids in the Hall. So Kids in the Hall, led by people like Dave Foley, just fucking brilliant. We even had some interviews with Kevin. Was it Kevin McDonald?
Kevin McDonald?
Yeah. We
spoke
did an
with him.
interview with him when he was doing a Shakespeare play of all things. That short-lived show was maybe just as influential as some of the other ones that we've talked about here, like In Living Color or Mad TV. I would put it as almost as influential as even SCTV. And SCTV, I'm not saying the show was influential, but the people that came out of it were.
Yeah.
And I would say that Kids in the Hall absolutely was. Like in the 90s, which one of Gen X members that you were friends with didn't know Squishing Your Head?
Oh, yeah, of course. He squished your head. He squished your head. We had Mark McKinney came out of that, who was the boss in Superstore that I love so much. Yeah. Yep. Long-lived careers coming out of that.
Oh, man. So do you guys ever remember a show called Fridays?
I remember it. I'm not sure if I watched it.
It came out, it had 3 seasons. It came out in 1980. It came 80, 81, 82. It was ABC's, I guess, counterpart to hit the success that Saturday Night Live was hitting.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a sketch show. They had musical guests. They had guest people on it. I mean, they had a news segment. I mean, it was...
Wow.
And I think, the mistake they made is they copied Saturday Night Live. That was the biggest mistake I think they made, because everyone compared everything they did to Saturday Night Live and how they did it.
And you're just not going to do it as well if you don't have that cast and crew behind it.
Now, they did have some people who were on it, like Rich Hall. He was a Saturday Night Live person. Larry David, Michael Richards was on it. It was, I thought it was kind of cool because at the end, because they got canceled at the end of the 3rd season, Dick Ebersol gave all the Fridays cast members, he said they could come join Saturday Night Live when the show got canceled. Only a couple of them did, like, Larry David did and Rich Hall did. And a whole bunch didn't take him up on it, which I'm sure they're kicking themselves for now. At least I hope they are, because that was a mistake. It was a funny show, but they at the end, it got to the point where they were trying to push the envelope so hard that they kind of crossed that line where they actually had some skits they couldn't air.
Oh, wow.
They had like zombie dinner party, and they're like, nope, not going to happen.
That's all you get.
So it was an interesting show. It was a good attempt, I think, at trying to do. Oh, actually, maybe it wasn't that good attempt. They did get a bunch of talent. I was going to
say, it's not like we didn't see that coming. Michael Richards being a main cast member and what he did to his career after Seinfeld. I mean,
yeah. So he said it was an interesting show, if nothing else. But again, like, the mistake is like these other ones tried to do something new and original as far as sketch comedy. They were just trying to be an SNL clone, and that just failed.
Yeah.
Well, we had a lot more come out of SNL itself, too. It wasn't uncommon after a while. In 1980, they went, hey, Aykroyd and Belushi do this Blues Brothers thing. Maybe we could spin that into a movie. Yeah. And so they did. And they're like, well, now we can do no wrong. So in 92, they did Wayne's World. Amazing. And it didn't always go so well after that. They kept trying to duplicate that. They had 2 great films that came out of it. Coneheads, It's Pat, Night at the Roxbury, Superstar, The Ladies' Man, MacGruber, which probably that was not too bad. Actually, that's pretty good. And they've fed MacGruber back into the series, the show too, even though it didn't take off so well as a film, but it was not terrible.
Yeah.
Some of them were like, oh, let's take the sketch and try to make it an hour and a half, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
The ones that did work was, let's take what people loved about the sketch and flesh it out into a world, like your Wayne's World, your Blues Brothers. I think those are the better approaches, but it was interesting to see see him try no matter what.
You know, one that a lot of people pan on that actually I kind of liked was the Conehead movie.
I like that movie.
Yeah, it was all right.
I did too.
Okay.
I thought it was like, because it had some heart in it, and it kind of expanded that. It gave them more dimensions than just like what you saw in the sketch. And I just thought it was like just a funny. I enjoyed that movie. I know a lot of people like, oh, it was terrible. I was like, I thought it was pretty good actually.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed almost all of the SNL movies for one thing or another. Now, not all of them, but I did watch them, and I would enjoy parts of all of them, I'll say. I think the biggest miss that they had was Adam Sandler. Because we know Adam Sandler is now A-list movie star extraordinaire. He went to Michaels to try and do some movies with SNL stuff. And Michaels was like, nah, that's okay. Yeah. Because he had not been successful with some of these others, I think. Yeah. And I mean, boy, you talk about the biggest swing and miss. I mean, can you imagine if Lorne Michaels had a piece of Adam Sandler's, Happy Madison company? Holy hell.
Yep. And to his credit, he's set up a company doing movies with his friends and getting paid for it.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yep.
Good for him, right? Man. All right. Shall we get into hour 2 of Saturday Night Live? We could redo this episode and not repeat anything and have another episode. You know what?
Sure.
Pick different cast members, pick different sketches, and still have just as much fun and talk about just as amazing stuff. But I think it's a good spot to button it up. I've had a good time. Thank you guys for sitting down with me. Before I leave, I'm going to take a second to thank another brand new patron who's joined us over at patreon.com. I want to thank Paul P. Yeah, the same one who was the 4th listener up at the top of this episode.
Oh,
YouTube
cool.
member, also now a supporting patron. Thank you, Paul. We so much appreciate that you're willing to put your money where your mouth is. Yeah, we love GenXGrownUp, and we want to make sure they succeed. We want to help them out. If you want to do what Paul did, it's so easy. Just head over to GenXGrownUp.com/Patreon. Open up your heart and your wallet. Set up a regular recurring pledge for as little as $1 a month. That's all it takes. You certainly would be appreciated, and you'd be joining a roster of amazing people that already do that for us. So thanks again, Paul. We appreciate you. And thank all of you who do that regularly. That then is going to wrap it up for this as best we could cover Saturday Night Live in the hour that we have got. Don't worry, though, we'll be back in 2 weeks with another Backtrack. Next week is the standard edition of our show. Until then, I'm John. George, thank you so much for being here.
Yes, sir.
Mo, I appreciate you, man.
Always fun, man.
4th listener, it's you we all appreciate most of all. We cannot wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Take care, everybody.
No life, no fun. Don't you know that you're a grown-up?
GenXGrownUp is a member of the Evergreen Podcast family. Learn more at evergreenpodcasts.com.
While she shows till sunrise. Unacceptable for grown-ups. Your dinner cannot just be french fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up.
Should we say what they said for the people who are going to listen in the edit or for part of a Patreon bonus?
I'm not getting canceled. I mean, I will say dead honky if you want me to. I'll say that.
Right.
That's okay.
Honky
That was
honky.
what was great because he said honky in the previous line
Right.
was his previous response.
Dead honky.
Dead honky. And he starts doing the twitch, the eye twitch.